The precursor facility hummed with activity. Ships from across the galaxy docked at its bays, their crews eager to access the technology inside. But chaos threatened. Species that had been enemies for centuries now competed for resources. Arguments broke out. Small fights started. Nari stood in the central hub, exhausted but unable to rest. Through the facility's systems, she could see everything happening. It was overwhelming. "We need order," Doyen said, joining her. "We won the battle, but we're losing the peace. Without rules, this facility will become a war zone." The precursors left instructions, Haru informed them. Emergency protocols for situations exactly like this. But activating them requires a decision from you, Nari. The facility recognizes you as its administrator. What kind of protocols? The facility can produce automated defense platforms. They can enforce peace within the system. No weapons fire would be allowed. Any ship that attacks another would be disabled and ejected. Nari made the decision. Within hours, hundreds of defensive platforms deployed from the facility's manufacturing base. They took positions throughout the system, their sensors scanning for any signs of aggression. The effect was immediate. The small conflict stopped. Ships were forced to cooperate or leave. But that was just the first problem. Representatives from the remaining council species arrived under a flag of truce. Admiral Corvin led them. His fleet had withdrawn but remained nearby watching. The council wanted to negotiate. Nari agreed to meet them in a neutral conference room on the facility. She brought Minho, Doyen, and representatives from the Kalari and Valesians. The room was tense. "You have won," Corvin admitted, his reptilian features tight with barely controlled anger. "The council's authority is broken. But you have also created chaos. Dozens of species now possess powerful technology with no experience using it safely. There will be accidents. There will be disasters. There will be growing pains," Nari corrected. "But that's better than permanent oppression. What do you want?" asked a Kullian diplomat. "What is your price for this facility?" "I don't want a price. I want something better. I want a new system. One where no single group controls everything. One where every species has an equal voice." "Impossible," Corvin scoffed. "You describe anarchy. Civilization requires hierarchy, order, control." "No," Minho interjected. "Civilization requires cooperation. What you built wasn't civilization. It was dominance." The negotiations continued for days. Nari proposed the creation of the Free Worlds Collective, an alliance of species bound by mutual respect rather than control. Every member would have access to precursor technology, but also responsibilities. They would agree to help each other, to share knowledge, to resolve disputes peacefully. Most importantly, no species could use precursor technology to dominate others. The facility's defensive platforms would enforce this rule. Any species that attempted conquest would lose access to the facility and face the combined response of all other members. Some council species agreed immediately. The Valesians joined first, honoring Tavin's memory. The Kalari followed. The Torvins signed on. Others were more hesitant, but eventually agreed. They saw the writing on the wall. The old council was dead, whether they accepted it or not. A few species refused. The Dravek, Kullian, and Vrax withdrew, bitter and angry. They would remain independent, powerful, and potentially dangerous. But even they knew they couldn't fight the entire galaxy. Over the next 3 months, the Free Worlds Collective took shape. Representatives from over 200 species gathered on the facility to write its founding charter. Nari participated but refused to lead. She wasn't a politician or a diplomat. She was still just a mechanic at heart. Instead, leadership was divided among a council of representatives. Each species sent delegates. Decisions required majority approval. It was messy and slow, but it was fair. Sun He took charge of the Precursor Technology Institute, a new organization dedicated to safely spreading knowledge. She developed training programs to teach species how to use advanced technology responsibly. She created safety protocols to prevent accidents. Her work saved countless lives. Doyun became the commander of the Collective Defense Force. It wasn't an army in the traditional sense. Ships from different species worked together to patrol trade routes, respond to emergencies, and protect worlds from pirates or natural disasters. They were peacekeepers, not conquerors. Jiho thrived in the new galaxy. His data network, once used for smuggling, became the backbone of the Collective's communication system. Information flowed freely between worlds. Knowledge that had been suppressed for millennia became available to anyone who wanted to learn. Admiral Minho returned to Earth a hero. Humanity's reputation had transformed overnight. Once ignored, humans were now seen as the catalyst species, the ones who had broken the chains. Earth became a center of trade and diplomacy. Minho served as humanity's representative to the collective, ensuring human voices were heard, but Nari herself couldn't stay still. 6 months after the facility's activation, she stood on the bridge of the Eternal Wanderer, preparing to leave. Haru had updated the ship's systems with everything they had learned. It was faster, stronger, and more capable than ever. "Where will you go?" Minho asked. He had come to see her off. The archive showed me locations of other precursor sites, dozens of them, scattered across unexplored space. Someone needs to find them, to make sure they're safe, to recover any knowledge they contain. That sounds dangerous. Everything worth doing is dangerous, Nari said with a smile. She had used that phrase before, and it still felt true. Will you come back? Eventually. But the galaxy is big, and there's so much to discover. Besides, the collective doesn't need me anymore. You're all doing fine without me. Minho hugged her, a rare show of emotion from the usually stoic admiral. Humanity owes you everything. Humanity doesn't owe me anything. We did this together, all of us. The Eternal Wanderer departed the next morning. With Nari were Jiho, who couldn't resist the adventure, and Sunhee's younger brother Quan, an eager young scientist who wanted to study precursor sites. It was a small crew, but that was how Nari liked it. As they jumped into deep space, Haru brought up a map of the galaxy. Red markers indicated precursor sites they had yet to explore. There were over 40. This will take years, Haru observed. Good, Nari said. I've got time. Behind them, the galaxy they had changed continued to evolve. The Free Worlds Collective grew stronger. New species joined every month. Technology spread, living conditions improved. Diseases that had killed billions were cured. Poverty decreased. Trade flourished. There were problems, of course. Some species struggled to adapt. The Dravek, Kullian, and Vrax formed their own alliance, bitter and resentful. Pirates and warlords still existed. Not everyone wanted peace, but the trend was clear. The galaxy was better. Not perfect, but better. 50 years passed. Nari was older now, her hair gray, her hands weathered from decades of work. She had explored 36 precursor sites, recovered incredible knowledge, and survived countless dangers. The Eternal Wanderer had become famous, its arrival at any world cause for celebration. She returned to Earth for the 50th anniversary of the Collective's founding. The celebration was massive. Representatives from every member species attended. There were over 300 now, the Collective having grown far beyond anyone's early expectations. Statues of Nari stood in public squares on dozens of worlds, not as a warrior or conqueror, but as a mechanic holding a wrench. The symbolism was important. She had changed the galaxy not through violence, but through sharing and cooperation. At the celebration, Nari was asked to speak. She stood before billions watching across the galaxy and kept her words simple. 50 years ago, I was nobody, a mechanic drowning in debt, ignored by the galaxy. Then I inherited a ship and discovered knowledge that could help people. I had a choice. I could keep it for myself or I could share it. I chose to share and you chose to help. Every person who stood with us, every species that joined the Collective, every individual who chose cooperation over dominance made this possible. The old galaxy was built on fear and control. The new galaxy is built on hope and freedom. We're not perfect. We still have problems, but we're solving them together. 50 years from now, I probably won't be here, but you will be. And the galaxy will be whatever you make it. Choose wisely. Choose kindly. Choose to help each other. She sat down to thunderous applause. That night, Nari stood on the observation deck of the space station orbiting Earth, looking at the stars. Jiho joined her. He was older too, but his eyes still sparkled with the same mischief. Ready for the next adventure? He asked. Always, Nari replied. The Eternal Wanderer waited for them, docked and ready. There were still precursor sites to explore, knowledge to recover, mysteries to solve. The galaxy was vast and Nari's work wasn't done. But as she looked at Earth, at the ships traveling between worlds, at the civilization humanity and countless other species had built together, she felt proud. Taven would have been proud too. The mechanic from the orbital junkyard had changed the galaxy. Not through conquest or domination, but by proving that one person with courage and compassion could inspire millions. The stars waited, and Nari was ready to explore them. The journey to the galactic core took 3 weeks. Nari's fleet moved carefully, avoiding Council patrol routes. But they weren't alone. Council scouts tracked them from a distance, reporting their every move. Everyone knew a confrontation was coming. During the journey, Nari studied the archive more deeply. She discovered something that Haru had never told her. The AI had kept one final secret. The precursors didn't vanish, Haru admitted when she confronted him. They evolved beyond physical form. But before they did, they left instructions. They said younger species would eventually find their technology. They wanted those species to use it wisely. Why didn't you tell me before? Taven made me promise to wait. He said the information would only be meaningful when you were ready to understand it. The precursors left a test, Nari. The facility we're traveling to will only activate for someone who proves they seek to help others, not dominate them. How do I prove that? You already have. By sharing the technology instead of hoarding it. By building alliances instead of conquering. The precursors designed their systems to recognize intention. The facility will respond to you. As they traveled, more ships joined the fleet. Species that had received Nari's technology packages sent representatives. Word had spread across the galaxy about what she was trying to do. Some came to help. Others came to witness history, and a few came hoping to steal precursor secrets for themselves. Doyen was worried about the last group. We have potential traitors in our fleet. Species that might betray us to the Council. I know, Nari said, but we can't turn them away. This has to be open. If we start excluding people, we become what we're fighting against. The closer they got to the galactic core, the more dangerous space became. This region was filled with black holes, neutron stars, and gravitational anomalies that could tear ships apart. Only the Eternal Wanderer's advanced navigation systems made the journey possible. On the 18th day, they detected the facility. It was enormous. A ring structure surrounding a small star, thousands of kilometers in diameter. The surface was covered in docking bays, manufacturing plants, and weapons emplacements. All dark, all dormant, waiting for someone to wake it up. It's beautiful, Sunhee whispered, staring at the view screen. But they weren't alone. As Nari's fleet approached the facility, Council forces appeared. Not 300 ships this time. Over 1,000. Every major Council species had sent warships. The Council had committed everything to stopping her. Admiral Minho opened communications. Nari, we're outnumbered 5-1. We can't win this fight? We're not here to win a fight, Nari replied. We're here to change everything. She opened a channel to the entire galaxy. Every species, every world, everyone who had communications equipment could hear her voice. My name is Nari. I'm a human, and I'm nobody special. I was a salvage mechanic before I inherited a ship from my great-uncle. That ship contained knowledge the Galactic Council has hidden for thousands of years. Technology that could end suffering, cure diseases, and free every species from dependency and control. The Council told you this technology was dangerous. They were right, but not the way they meant. It's dangerous to their power. It's dangerous to the system they built to keep themselves on top and everyone else below. I'm here today to activate a precursor facility that can produce technology for everyone. Not just humans. Not just my allies, everyone. Free and open for any species that wants it. The Council fleet is here to stop me. They're here to preserve the old ways, to keep you dependent on them. I'm asking you to stand with me instead. I'm asking you to choose freedom. Across the galaxy, billions watched. On Earth, people gathered in public squares to see what would happen. On Kalari worlds, warriors prepared for battle. On Velesian colonies, workers stopped their tasks. Everyone waited. The Council's lead commander, a Dravek admiral named Corvin, opened a channel. His reptilian face filled Nari's view screen. Surrender now, human. You cannot win. We will destroy your fleet and scatter your allies. You can try, Nari said calmly, but you'll be firing on ships from 60 different species. You'll be declaring war on half the galaxy. Is maintaining your power really worth that? Corvin's eyes narrowed. You're bluffing. Most of your fleet is civilian ships. They'll run at the first sign of battle. Maybe, but some won't. And the ones that stay will fight with precursor weapons. How many ships are you willing to lose, Corvin? How many of your people will die to keep others oppressed? There was a long silence. Then Corvin gave the order to attack. The battle began. Council ships opened fire with massive energy weapons. Nari's fleet scattered, smaller ships hiding behind the larger ones. The Kalari warriors engaged first, their ships new shields holding against Council weapons. Velician scouts darted between the larger vessels, targeting engines and weapons. The Eternal Wanderer moved through the battle like a ghost. Haru piloted the ship with impossible precision, dodging attacks that should have hit. Nari focused on reaching the facility. Everything depended on activating it. Sunhee worked frantically at her station. I'm reading the activation sequence. It requires a genetic match and a declaration of intent. You need to dock with the central hub. We'll never make it through that fleet, Jiho said, watching the tactical display. Ships were exploding on both sides. The battle was chaos. But then something unexpected happened. 3 Council ships broke formation. They were Velician vessels, and instead of firing on Nari's fleet, they moved to protect the Eternal Wanderer. Their commander opened a channel. This is Captain Minara of the Velician Defense Force. We remember Tavan. We remember what he stood for. We will not fire on his kin. More ships broke away. First a few, then dozens. Species that had been part of the Council for centuries suddenly questioned what they were fighting for. Some held position, unwilling to betray the Council but also unwilling to attack Nari. Others actively joined her side. The Council fleet began to fracture. Nari saw her chance. All ships cover us. We're going in. The Eternal Wanderer accelerated toward the facility. Enemy fire filled the space around them, but friendly ships intercepted most of it. A Kalari cruiser took a devastating hit protecting them. A Torvan freighter rammed a Council destroyer to clear their path. They reached the central hub. Nari took a small shuttle down to the facility's surface while Haru kept the Eternal Wanderer safe. The hub was a massive tower, its entrance covered in the same shifting symbol she had seen on the archive door. She placed her hand on the entrance. The symbols glowed. The door opened. Inside was a chamber filled with light. At its center floated a sphere of pure energy. Nari approached it slowly, feeling the power radiating from it. State your purpose, a voice said. It came from everywhere and nowhere, ancient and ageless. I want to help people, Nari said. All people. Every species. I want to end the system that keeps some powerful and others weak. I want everyone to have the same chances, the same opportunities. And what will you take for yourself? Nothing. I don't want power or wealth. I just want things to be fair. The sphere pulsed. You speak the truth. The facility recognizes your intent. Activation granted. Light exploded outward. The entire facility came to life. Docking bays opened. Manufacturing plants started up. Weapons emplacements powered on, but they didn't fire. Instead, they formed a protective grid around the entire area. A voice transmitted to every ship in the system. This facility is now active. All species are welcome to access its resources. Technology will be provided freely to any who request it. This is the will of the precursors and the wish of Nari, their chosen representative. The battle stopped. Both sides ceased firing, shocked by what had happened. The facility was active. The knowledge was available. The old balance of power had just shattered completely. Admiral Corvin stared at his view screen in disbelief. Around him, his officers were already receiving reports. Half of the Council species were withdrawing their support. They wanted access to the facility. They wanted the technology. The old alliance was breaking apart. Nari returned to the Eternal Wanderer. Through the view screen, she watched as ships from dozens of species approached the facility. Not to fight, to learn. To take technology and bring it home. We did it, Jiho said, his voice full of wonder. No, Nari corrected, looking at the assembled ships. They did it. All of them. Every person who chose to stand up. Every species that said enough. But even as victory settled over them, Nari knew the fight wasn't over. The Council's core members would never accept this. They would regroup and plan, but now the playing field was level. Now everyone had access to the same tools. Nari returned to Earth's solar system 6 weeks later. She arrived quietly, hiding the Eternal Wanderer in the asteroid belt where thousands of mining stations operated. Haru had made contact with Jiho, who was already working to spread the precursor medical technology she had sent. But the situation on Earth had grown worse. The Council issued an ultimatum 3 days ago, Jiho told her through an encrypted channel. His face looked thin and tired. They want you in the ship or they'll blockade all human space. No trade, no travel, nothing. Earth's government is falling apart arguing about what to do. Let me talk to them, Nari said. They'll arrest you. Maybe. But I need to try. Admiral Minho agreed to meet her in secret. He was the head of Earth's small defense fleet, an older man with gray hair and sharp eyes. They met on a neutral station, just the two of them in a small conference room. You've caused us a lot of problems, Minho said, but he didn't sound angry. He sounded curious. I found something that can help humanity, Nari replied. The Council wants to suppress it because it threatens their power. I've seen the medical technology you released. Our doctors say it's incredible. We've already cured diseases that killed millions. But the Council is right about one thing. You're dangerous, not because you're evil, but because you're changing everything too fast. Change is always scary, but staying weak and dependent on the Council is worse. Minho leaned back in his chair. Show me what else you have. Nari spent the next hour explaining. She showed him the archive's contents. She demonstrated the ship's capabilities. She explained her plan to share technology not just with humanity, but with other oppressed species across the galaxy. You want to start a revolution? Minho said finally. I want to level the playing field. The Council has kept everyone else weak on purpose. It's time that ended. And if they destroy Earth in retaliation, they won't. Not if we make ourselves too valuable to destroy. Not if we share this technology with enough species that attacking us means fighting everyone. Minho was quiet for a long time. Finally, he smiled. My superiors want me to arrest you, but I'm an old man who's tired of bowing to the Council. What do you need? Over the next month, Nari worked with Minho and a small team of trusted humans. She brought in Jiho to handle communications. She recruited a brilliant engineer named Sunhee, who understood precursor technology almost as well as Nari did. And she found Doyen, a military strategist who had studied Council tactics for years. They established a hidden facility in the asteroid belt. Using precursor manufacturing technology, they began building things that would change human civilization. First came medical nanites, tiny machines that could repair any injury or cure any disease. Within weeks, human hospitals were performing miracles. Then came improved engines. Human ships suddenly became faster and more efficient than Council vessels. Colonies that took months to reach could now be visited in weeks. Earth's economy exploded as trade routes opened up. But the most important work was happening in secret. Nari was creating thousands of data packages, each one containing basic precursor technology tailored for different species. Medical knowledge for the Kalari, whose reptilian biology made them vulnerable to certain diseases. Agricultural systems for the Velesians, whose insect-like colonies needed vast amounts of food. Shield technology for the Torvan, who lived on a world constantly bombarded by radiation. You're arming our potential allies, Doyen observed, watching her work. I'm giving them the tools to free themselves, Nari corrected. What they do with those tools is up to them. The Council noticed the changes. How could they not? Humanity was transforming before their eyes. Small diplomatic meetings turned tense. Council representatives demanded inspections of human facilities. Minho politely refused. Then 3 Council species formed a secret alliance. The Dravik, the Kullian, and the Vrex, 3 of the Council's most powerful military forces. Their plan was simple and brutal. They would attack Earth with overwhelming force, destroy the planet's infrastructure, and scatter humanity to the stars. An example to any other species thinking of rebellion. Doyun discovered the plan through intercepted communications. He brought the news to Nari in the middle of the night. We have maybe 2 weeks, he said. They're assembling a fleet of over 300 warships. We can't fight that, even with precursor technology. Nari didn't panic. She had been expecting this. We're not going to fight them. We're going to make fighting as pointless. She activated her plan early. All those data packages she had created, all that carefully selected technology went out simultaneously. Jiho and his network of data runners spread them across 100 worlds. Within days, dozens of species had access to basic precursor knowledge. The galaxy erupted. On Kalari worlds, medical clinics suddenly cured plagues that had killed millions. On Velesian colonies, food production tripled overnight. Torvan cities activated shield generators that protected them from their world's harsh radiation. Everywhere, species that had been kept weak and dependent suddenly had hope. The Council tried to suppress the information, but it was too late. The knowledge had spread too far, too fast, and as species began developing their own precursor-based technology, They started asking questions. Why had the Council kept this from them? Why had they been forced to suffer when solutions existed? The alliance against Earth began to fracture. The Velesians, Taven's people, refused to attack humanity. They remembered Taven and respected what his descendant was doing. Other species started withdrawing their support. Some even offered to help defend Earth. The three species leading the attack, the Dravik, Kullian, and Vrax, decided to proceed anyway. Their fleet entered human space 2 weeks later. 300 warships against Earth's small defense force of maybe 30 ships, but they weren't alone. 60 Kalari warships appeared, their new shields glowing. 40 Velesian vessels dropped out of jump space on Earth's flank. Smaller contingents from a dozen other species arrived, all of them equipped with technology Nari had shared. Admiral Minho stood on the bridge of his flagship and smiled. "Send a message to the attackers. Tell them they're welcome to try, but they'll be fighting half the galaxy." The Dravik commander took one look at the assembled fleet and ordered a retreat. The Kullian and Vrax followed. The battle that was supposed to crush humanity never happened. But Nari knew this was just the beginning. The Council wouldn't forgive this humiliation. They would regroup, plan, and come back stronger. That night, studying the archive, she found something that changed everything. Hidden deep in the precursor database was a location, coordinates to a place in the galactic core, a facility the precursors had built, massive beyond imagination. A manufacturing station capable of producing thousands of ships. "If we could reach it," Sun He said, looking at the data. "If we could activate it, we could arm every oppressed species in the galaxy," Nari finished. "We could end the Council's power forever. It's incredibly dangerous," Haru warned. "That facility is in one of the most heavily monitored regions of space. The Council will throw everything they have at stopping us." "Then we better get moving," Nari said. She sent out a call to every species she had helped. She explained what she had found and what she planned to do. She asked for help, knowing that many would refuse, that many would think it was suicide. But Jiho signed on immediately. Sun He and Doyun never hesitated. Admiral Minho provided ships and soldiers. The Kalari sent warriors. The Velesians sent scouts. The Torvan sent engineers. Within a month, Nari had assembled a fleet of over 200 ships. Not all were military vessels. Many were freighters, passenger ships, even mining craft. But all were crewed by people who believed in what she was doing. As they prepared to depart, Nari stood on the bridge of the Eternal Wanderer and looked at the fleet assembled around her. A year ago, she had been a nobody, a salvage mechanic drowning in debt. Now she was leading a revolution. "Ready?" Haru asked. "No," Nari admitted. "But we're going anyway." The fleet jumped toward the galactic core, toward the precursor facility, toward a confrontation that would decide the fate of civilization. The Eternal Wanderer drifted in empty space between star systems. Nari had spent 3 days just trying to understand the basic controls. The ship was slowly coming back to life, one system at a time. Haru helped when he could, but even the AI didn't understand everything about the vessel. "This ship is older than the Galactic Council itself," Haru explained while Nari worked on repairing a damaged power conduit. Taven found it on a dead world at the edge of known space. He spent years bringing it back to life. Nari wiped sweat from her forehead. Why didn't he just sell it? A ship this advanced must be worth billion. He tried, but when Council scientists examined it, they became afraid. They ordered him to surrender the ship for destruction. They said it was too dangerous. So Taven ran. He spent the rest of his life hiding. What makes it so dangerous? Haru's holographic form flickered. "Follow me. It's time you saw." The AI led her deep into the ship's lower levels. They walked through corridors that seemed to shift and change. The architecture made no sense. Rooms connected in ways that shouldn't be possible. Finally, they reached a massive door covered in glowing symbols. "This is the archive," Haru said. Taven could never open it. The security system required genetic markers he didn't fully possess. "But you are different. You have more human DNA. The precursors designed their locks for species like yours." "Precursors? Who are they?" "The civilization that built this ship. They existed millions of years before the current galactic species evolved. They vanished, leaving only ruins and mysteries. The Council has spent thousands of years suppressing any precursor technology they find." Nari approached the door. The symbols began to glow brighter. She felt a strange tingling sensation like the ship was scanning her. Then the massive door split open with a sound like thunder. Inside was a room filled with floating data crystals, thousands of them, each one glowing with soft light. In the center stood a pedestal with a single crystal that pulsed with rainbow colors. "What is this?" Nari whispered. "Knowledge," Haru said quietly. "Everything the precursors knew. Technology, science, history, medicine. It's all here." Nari reached out and touched the central crystal. Suddenly, her mind filled with information. She saw blueprints for engines that could cross the galaxy in days, weapons that could destroy suns, medical devices that could cure any disease, manufacturing systems that could build cities in hours. The knowledge was overwhelming, beautiful, and terrifying. She pulled her hand back, gasping. This is incredible. We could change everything. Cure diseases, end hunger, make humanity powerful." "Yes," Haru agreed. "And that's exactly why the Council wants it destroyed. They built their power on controlling technology and keeping younger species dependent. This archive would end their control forever." Nari spent the next week studying the archive. She couldn't understand everything, but her natural talent for machinery helped her grasp the basics. She began with simple things. Using precursor blueprints, she repaired the ship's damaged systems. The Eternal Wanderer became fully operational for the first time in decades. The ship was fast, incredibly fast. Its engines worked on principles that human scientists hadn't even theorized. It could jump across vast distances without using the normal jump gates that the Council controlled. It had shields that could withstand weapons fire from an entire fleet. And it had weapons of its own, though Nari hoped she would never need them. One morning she was working on integrating some precursor medical technology when Haru interrupted her. "Nari, we have a problem. I've been monitoring Council communications. They're hunting for us. Every major species in the Council has ships searching. How did they find us?" "We've been careful. They didn't find us, but they intercepted messages from your friend Jiho. He's been trying to reach you. The Council traced the signals." Guilt flooded through Nari. She had put Jiho in danger. "Can we contact him securely?" "I can create an encrypted channel, but it will only last a few minutes before they trace it." Nari opened the communication. Jiho's face appeared on the screen. He looked worried. "Nari, thank the stars you're alive. The Council is telling everyone you're a terrorist. They say you stole dangerous technology. They're lying. Jiho, I found something amazing. Technology that could help everyone. But the Council wants to keep it hidden. What are you going to do?" That was the question Nari had been avoiding. She looked around at the archive, at all this knowledge. She could sell it to the highest bidder and become rich. She could hide it and live quietly. Or she could do something that would change everything. "I'm going to share it," she said finally. "Not all of it, but enough to help people." "That's insane. The Council will destroy you." "Maybe, but I can't keep this to myself." "It's not right," she ended the call. Haru looked at her with something like pride. Tavin would have made the same choice, the AI said. Nari began creating data packages. She selected medical technology that could cure common diseases, engine designs that would make space travel safer and cheaper, agricultural systems that could grow food anywhere. Nothing too advanced, nothing that could be weaponized, but enough to make real differences in people's lives. She planned to transmit these packages to human colonies far from Earth, places where the Council had little control. Once the knowledge spread, it would be impossible to suppress. But as she worked, the ship's sensors detected something. 3 Council warships had found them. They dropped out of jump space nearby, their weapons already charging. They knew we would contact Jiho, Nari realized. They were waiting. "We need to jump," Haru urged. "Not yet. Route power to the shields. Let's see what this ship can really do." The Council ships opened fire. Massive energy beams that could vaporize a normal ship struck the Eternal Wanderer's shields. The shields held easily, barely even flickering. Nari activated the ship's defensive systems. She didn't want to kill anyone, but she needed to make a statement. The precursor weapons fired, precise beams that disabled the Council ship's engines without destroying them. In 30 seconds, all 3 warships were drifting helplessly. "Send them a message," Nari told Haru. "Tell them this is just the beginning. Tell them humanity won't be ignored anymore." The Eternal Wanderer jumped away, leaving the disabled ships behind. But Nari knew they had just made things much worse. The Council had seen what precursor technology could do. They wouldn't stop hunting her now. More importantly, every major power in the galaxy had just learned that someone had access to precursor weapons. The balance of power had shifted. The game had changed. Nari looked at the data packages she had prepared. She couldn't go home. Earth would be the first place the council looked. But maybe she didn't need to go home. Maybe it was time to take the fight to them. Haru, I need you to help me with something. I want to find more people like Jiho. People who can spread information without being caught. Smugglers, data runners, rebels. Anyone who hates the council as much as I'm starting to. That's a dangerous path. Everything worth doing is dangerous, Nari said. She thought of her great-uncle Taven alone and running for decades. He had protected this secret until his death. Now it was her turn to carry it forward. But she wouldn't hide. She would fight. Nari wiped the grease from her hands and stared at the broken thruster unit floating in front of her. Another 12-hour shift in the orbital junkyard above Earth, and she had maybe fixed enough equipment to pay for this week's food. The debt collectors would call again tomorrow. They always did. Her communicator beeped. Unknown sender. She almost ignored it, but something made her answer. Miss Nari? A voice asked. This is Attorney Kwan from the Interstellar Estate Office. We've been trying to reach you about an inheritance, Nari laughed. Wrong person. Nobody in my family has anything worth inheriting. Your great-uncle Taven left you something. A starship. It's currently impounded at Station Outpost Kepler 88. You have 10 days to claim it before it's scrapped. The call ended. Nari floated there in her work suit, confused. She had never heard of any great-uncle named Taven. Her family tree was small and poor. There had to be a mistake, but that night she couldn't sleep. A starship. Even a broken one could be sold for parts. Maybe enough to clear her debts. Maybe enough to start over somewhere else. 3 days later, Nari arrived at Station Outpost Kepler 88. The station was old and rusty, sitting at the edge of human space. The kind of place where people went to disappear. Attorney Kwan met her at the docking bay. He was a thin man with nervous eyes. Your great-uncle was an unusual person, Kwan said, walking quickly through the dimly lit corridors, half human, half Velesian. He worked as a deep space explorer. Disappeared 40 years ago. The ship was found drifting 6 months ago. Half alien? Nari stopped walking. That's impossible. My family is completely human. Kwan pulled up a genetic record on his tablet. Your grandmother had a brother. He fell in love with a Velesian explorer. They had a child. Your great-uncle Taven. The family kept it quiet. Different times back then. They reached the impound bay. Kwan pressed his hand against the scanner and the massive door slid open. Nari's breath caught in her throat. The ship was enormous. It filled the entire bay, its hull covered in strange symbols that seemed to shift in the light. The metal was dark, almost black, with veins of silver running through it like lightning frozen in time. It looked nothing like human ships or any council species design she had ever seen. What is it? She whispered. We don't know, Kwan admitted. The station engineers can't identify the technology. Even the council inspectors were confused. They wanted to take it for study, but the inheritance laws were clear. It's yours. However, you have 72 hours to make it spaceworthy and leave, or the station will scrap it for the docking fees. Nari walked closer. The ship was beautiful and terrifying. Parts of it were clearly damaged. Entire sections looked like they had been hit by weapons fire. But underneath the damage, she could see the bones of something incredible. I'll take it, she said. Kwan looked relieved. He handed her a data chip. This contains all the information we have. Good luck. After he left, Nari stood alone in front of the ship. She pressed her hand against the hull. The metal was warm. Suddenly a panel slid open and a ramp extended down to the floor. The ship had recognized her. Inside, the corridor was dark. Emergency lights flickered on as she walked. The ship was massive inside, bigger than it looked from outside. Rooms branched off in every direction. Everything was covered in dust. 40 years of silence, she found the bridge. The captain's chair sat in the center, facing a view screen that showed the impound bay outside. Control panels lined the walls, all dark. Nari sat down in the chair and looked around. Hello, she said, feeling foolish. Nothing happened. She spent the next 6 hours exploring. The ship had sleeping quarters, a medical bay, cargo holds, engineering sections, and rooms whose purpose she couldn't even guess. Everything was too advanced. The technology was decades, maybe centuries ahead of anything she had ever seen. In the engineering section, she found the main power core. It was dead. But next to it, she found a backup system. With shaking hands, she began connecting circuits. Her years of salvage work had taught her to understand machinery, even alien machinery. Systems spoke a universal language of energy and function. After 2 hours of work, something hummed to life. Lights flickered across the ship. The view screen on the bridge activated, and a voice spoke. System, rebooting, scanning for authorized personnel. Nari ran back to the bridge. A holographic figure appeared above the control panel. It looked vaguely human but made of blue light. Hello, the hologram said. I am Haru, the ship's artificial intelligence. You are, Nari. Genetic match confirmed. Taven's descendant. Welcome aboard the Eternal Wanderer. You knew my great-uncle? Nari asked. I served with Taven for 37 years. He was my captain and my friend. Haru's voice sounded sad. He died here on this ship 4 years ago. He left everything to you. Why me? I never even met him. He said you would understand. He said you had the gift, the ability to see how things work, to fix what others call broken. He watched you from afar. He knew you were special. Nari felt tears in her eyes. A family member she never knew had believed in her when no one else did. Haru, can this ship fly? With repairs, yes. But there is something you must know. This ship is being hunted. The Galactic Council wants it destroyed. Taven stole something very valuable and he hid it here. Before Nari could ask more, alarms blared. Haru's image turned red. 3 Council security ships entering the station. They are coming here. Nari looked at the control panels. Most systems were still offline. The ship couldn't fight or run. What do we do? There is one option, Haru said. The jump drive has enough power for one emergency jump. But we don't know where we'll end up. It could be anywhere in the galaxy. Better than being captured, Nari said. She called her friend Jiho on her communicator. I need you to do me a favor. Tell everyone I died here. Tell them the ship exploded. Nari, what are you? Trust me. I'll explain later. She cut the connection. Outside the view screen, she could see armed soldiers entering the impound bay. Haru, get us out of here. The ship vibrated. Power surged through every system. The view screen showed space folding in impossible ways. Reality twisted, and the Eternal Wanderer vanished, taking Nari into the unknown. Behind them, the soldiers found only an empty bay and a lot of questions. Nari was gone. The ship was gone. And somewhere in deep space, a new chapter of galactic history had just begun.